Very well. We thank you for joining us. We're coming to you live from the Milimani Law Courts, where the matter regarding Miguna was being heard, and it's been an intense court session. I'm now joined by Senior Counsel James Agre. Orengo is also the Senator. Mheshimiwa, thank you for accepting to speak to us. Maybe you can just give us in summary what the court has deliberated and ordered.
The court, we are glad to report, is still insisting that its orders must be obeyed. And for that matter, the court has made orders which requires affidavits to be sworn by the Inspector General and the Director of Criminal Investigations, together with the officer in charge of immigrations, and that they must appear in person on the 15th of this month when the court reconvenes. But we have made some statements or submissions which the court is going to deal with later. The court has said they need to hear from them why those court orders were disobeyed. And if they have a story to tell, they should swear those affidavits. But you had most of the counsels who were acting on behalf of Mr. Miguna and the Law Society, saying that the contempt must be purged. And from where we stand, the beginning of purging that contempt is by an order being made for Mr. Miguna to be brought back to the country. And the only hurdle that can stand against that order, if Mr. Miguna himself says he doesn't want to come back to Kenya. You know, when you do a deportation like they did, they have to harmonize the operation with the receiving country. That means that the government of Canada must have indicated that they have no problem with Mr. Miguna being received in Canada. They know the law about dual citizenship, and Mr. Miguna cannot cease to be a Kenyan citizen. It is not for the government of Kenya to determine whether Mr. Miguna is a citizen of Kenya or not. It is Mr. Miguna who can say he has renounced his Kenyan citizenship. Any Kenyan who is a citizen by birth still retains the citizenship of the country called Kenya. Now, the other more important point on this issue is that, you know, one of the things that happens, and the IBC always does it, is a determination of whether anybody running for election is a Kenyan citizen. If you look at the law, whether it is elective positions for presidential elections or parliamentary or gubernatorial, they must satisfy themselves that the person desiring to run for office is a Kenyan citizen. The only exception is anybody who wants to be a president or deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. You cannot offer yourself for those seats if you are a dual citizen of Kenya. But for any other post, whether you have dual citizenship, you have rights which are equal to the rights of other citizens.
Maybe lastly, Mheshimiwa, Harun Dubi did mention about some powers that one Mr. Matiang'i does not have. This order, this purported deportation order was supposedly signed by him. Does he have those powers, or was he acting outside?
No, he doesn't have powers. Under the Immigration Act, you can only deport a prohibited person. And the law says it clearly that a Kenyan cannot be a prohibited immigrant. So it only applies to a person who is not a Kenyan citizen. So he was beyond his legal powers and authority, to pretend to be making an order like that. And more importantly, the process must be a judicial process, which means that Mr. Miguna must be given opportunity to respond to those accusations. You cannot just be huddled and, forced into a plane going back to Canada without being given an opportunity. And if the immigration people don't believe you, there is a period in which you can challenge the order. Just like those who their passports have been suspended, we have been given 21 days, which means that you have got that period during which you can mount a challenge. Although already the government is in breach, because like somebody like Senator Mudama, who wanted to travel yesterday, was not able to leave the country because the suspension should take effect after 21 days when the matter is properly resolved. Okay. Yeah.
Very well. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Senior Counsel. We appreciate, as always. Well, that is Senior Counsel, CI Senator James Aggrey Orengo, just leaving the courtroom here. It was a very intense session, and the counsel representing the DPP was hard-pressed to explain at what point did the flying squad, who are acting under the DCI and the Inspector General of Police, lose custody of Miguna, and at what point did the Immigration Department gain custody of him? Because the court order from Kajiado Court, the Kajiado Court, was very clear that Miguna was to be produced in this court in Milimani. Justice Kimaru made a remark that actually Miguna was within the precincts of this court, within the court building, but was never produced in court, meaning that the court order that was issued that Miguna must be produced in court actually was violated. There was a light moment when Cliff Ombeta did ask the presiding judge and the court to and I quote, to bite somebody, end of quote, and bite hard. He actually pleaded with the court to detain the officers who were sent here to represent the Director of Criminal Investigations and the head of Flying Squad 1, Mr. Saidi. Harun Dubi did mention that they intend at a later date to deal with Fred Matiang'i to demonstrate that perhaps he does not have the powers that he says he has in signing that deportation order, which he argues due process was not followed. Senator Mutula Kilonzo, who is also one of the legal minds here representing Miguna, did indicate that the fact that Miguna was allowed to vie as a gubernatorial candidate is a confirmation of his citizenship, and wondered at what point did the Cabinet Secretary for Interior realize that Miguna is not a Kenyan citizen. Well, keep it here as we continue to follow this saga, which is very quickly beginning to be a contest between the judiciary and the executive. And as to whether or not the rule of law shall be upheld, only time will tell. Reporting for NASA TV from the Milimani Law Courts, I am Maurice Ochieng.